What up, home crew? This is my third attempt in trying to get this video together. Something just keeps happening, keeps cutting out. Sort of goes into the topic of this video, which is organic versus artificial timelines. So it's a sort of a combination of information that I've sort of gathered, just sharing it with you. Just take of it that aligns with you and just leave the rest. Back in 2012, we went through a change in consciousness, and a lot of people might have shared that it's a shift in consciousness. You could sort of say that could be viewed as a timeline shift. So we go through these shifts in timelines continuously. It's a natural process. And, one of the biggest things that I've definitely learned, and it's a fact to me that it's been proven over and over, is that we make things so much more complicated than it really is. Our mental mind, in a lot of ways, we might look at something that is so simple and we're like, it can't be that simple. It must be more complicated. And therefore, we're always looking for more complicated things to explain something that we don't know and or are unaware of. So the biggest part of this video is to try to break down and show some examples of how we make things so much more complicated than it really needs to be. I've shared the same thing in some previous videos regarding meditation and our focus and so on. So going back, to the shift in from 2012 to right now and so on, we've gone through all kinds of energetic changes. We're starting to see some more physical changes in and around our reality and so on. And it's in a lot of different ways. We have, say a timeline in itself can be viewed. Some people have predictions, sort of like how a weather forecaster has patterns that they view the weather patterns, and they know that they're able to predict the weather via the patterns that they have observed in the past and the results of those patterns. So in a lot of different ways, our trajectory, let's pronounce that correctly, trajectory is a combination of choices that we essentially have available. And I know I'm just diving right into this, but hopefully I'll be able to bring it all together. So from a physical standpoint, when we looked at a combination of factors of past patterns, and we take that information and we basically can put it forward to say, okay, these are our probable outcomes with the amount of information that I have here, and so on. And so with these probable outcomes are sort of like different timelines. And we have different paths that basically we can travel. We have different choices. Of course, if we make this choice, we go in this direction. If we make this choice, we go in that direction. But in all, they're basically leading to the same point. So the biggest thing is that from a physical human view, our view of, say, probable outcomes is sort of like very narrow from our view of what we can see into the future. There's been fortune tellers, there's been all these different people that put out predictions and everything else, but really it's to it's a matter of to it's our view that these are probable outcomes. You know, sometimes they hit and they're correct, sometimes they're not, most of the times they're not, because everything is changing continuously. So our view regarding predictions is it's not very accurate in a lot of different ways because of the shifting nature of everything and how fast everything is changing. But in another view, our star brothers and sisters and so on, and you could say advanced ETs or whatever, might have a larger view of, say, our trajectory. That word keeps coming to me to say. And so that trajectory is, in a way, we've already made the choices. We've already, talked about the new paradigm and the new earth and all this other stuff. We're already there, in a way. It's a matter of how we are going to get there, and the choices and the paths we are going to take to get there is sort of like what's up to us right now. There's a statement that John Armitage has basically said, I heard him say a long time ago, and free will is for beginners. And I'll just say that again. Free will is for beginners. And, I can see that now. I have a much better, understanding what that is now than I used to. Comprehend it a little bit, to a greater degree. So I try to keep this as simple as possible and or short as far as this video. But, our view of things here in physical is sort of like this. Some of our expanded multidimensional levels of ourself might have a bigger view of things. The more we expand our consciousness, the more we are able to see and comprehend and understand. So on another view, it just gets more expanses of a view and comprehending our path. And no matter how many paths we take or are available, we're all sort of moving in the same direction. We've moved from a path of expansion, and now we're essentially, going back into our organic nature, just like I shared in my past 2 videos regarding, the infinity grid and so on, the organic nature, the organic reset that's going on right now. We're going back to our natural paths. So all the artificial expansion and pathways that have been taken to expand out into all reaches of reality essentially are dissolving and basically coming back to our natural state. So, that goes to the free will is for beginners. It's a matter of, we think we have choices. We think we have free will in a lot of different ways. We do. But it's how the end point is still the same. It's how long it takes to get there and how many choices we have to get there is totally up to us. But the end point is still the same. And I'm not talking about physical death. I'm talking about beyond that. I'm talking about our collective universal self and so on. So the predicted outcomes is sort of like being able to see the timelines in themselves. The timelines in themselves are just variables of choices. sort of like in the meditation, I talk about living in meditation. It's a matter of our focus. So wherever our focus is basically our trajectory in the direction for which we are heading. So, that sort of leads into this next topic, or the other part about this is the artificial, it's sort of like the artificial matrix. There are the artificial matrix, artificial timelines. It's basically one and the same thing. From what I'm seeing, it's basically one and the same thing. There are beings, formless beings, that are very, say, advanced in the artificial realities. We'll just say they have basically expanded and evolved through the artificial timelines and matrix. As they've gone on and gone on, but they are seeing that basically their pathways are sort of lead to nowhere. Because they are not organic. So these pathways in this artificial matrix, basically it can go on and on, but they don't necessarily evolve. They come to a point where they don't evolve any further. And so a lot of them have been very much, say, focused on our evolution here in this specific time period where we are right now, where I'm talking to you. So, and they are basically trying to influence the trajectory of where we are and where we're moving. In a way, they're trying to steer us from basically going into more of back into the organic nature, for which is, our overall, say, where we're heading. But they don't necessarily really want to, say, let go of the artificial matrix and everything they know and everything that they rely on to exist. So they're trying to influence our focus. As I talk about living in meditation, it all has to do with focus. So I had a run-in with some of these beings, many years ago. Back then, I just, of course, was just unaware of myself. I was looking outside of myself and, gave my power, just basically was like, these beings and so on are talking about some advanced shit. So I was like, well, wow, there's all kinds of advanced information out here. Like, wow, this is some new stuff here that I'm getting. So in a lot of different ways, I was, wow, this is advanced stuff. Again, thinking in my mind, complicated advanced stuff means a path. Just point that out. And so I really explored that, and it came to a point where I was like, this isn't right. I could tell, I could feel that this was definitely not aligned with my heart knowingness. You could say your heart knowingness. Energetically, it was not aligned with the other parts of my multi-dimensional self that I knew. And so I basically just totally had to wipe out all that I sort of was in contact with. And I'm seeing that playing out right now with a lot of other people around, in our reality. A lot of people that view themselves as light workers or earth workers or whatever else, giving their power away to, say, you could say, beings of artificial masters or whatever, giving information out saying, yes, we are here, we're going to do this for you, and this is coming, and you need to focus on this, and everything's going to be all right, and all this other stuff. You just, focus on this and focus on that and everything else. And I'm not going to get into specifics about what that is and or what they're putting out. But the biggest thing is that if you look at every single thing I'm talking about, the most simplified thing is timelines are choices. Which direction we go basically has to do with where we're focusing, what we're focusing on. Of these actual timelines are variables of depending on our focus. The beings of manipulation and so on don't want to essentially let go of what they have and what they depend on. So therefore they try to steer the collective and or people's views in the direction that basically they wish to go in. Sort of like their agenda or whatever else you could sort of view it. Steering us away from the natural order, basically aligning to a greater degree with the natural order. In a lot of different ways, there's meditations being put out, gatherings, all kinds of different things. That's sort of like they feed people's mental minds with saying we are doing something. Like, okay, there was 1 million something meditation about a week or so ago. And, I'm not saying that it was a bad thing or good thing or whatever. The main thing is that it's the overall theme is that we are going to have a meditation and we are going to hang out. We're going to talk. We're going to do this. We're going to hold a meditation. Then it's over. And then everybody, I'm not saying everybody, but a large percentage of the people go back to their normal patterns and or their levels of focus. So in a way, to really make change, and one thing I want to say before I move on with this, another comparison to what I was just saying right there is the same thing as somebody going to church that's a religious person that goes to church on Sunday and prays and asks for forgiveness and does all this stuff to their Savior or their God for which they view. And therefore, they see that they serve their time and then they leave church and the next day they're back into their focus and their normal pattern and everything else. It's really comical. It's in a way to see the same pattern playing out in sort of like the New Age patterns, because I go to a meditation, I go to a spiritual event, I do something, and then I leave there, or I leave that meditation, or I leave that workshop, or I leave that event, and then go right back into the pattern of living however they do. So the biggest thing is those one-time events, going to Sunday or going to this workshop or being attended to this meditation, whatever else, in a lot of different ways are their own thing. But when you especially push all that out of the way, the majority of the time of the week is normal patterns, normal focus. Our trajectory of our timeline it's not going to change by how many people sit in meditation and focus on whatever for a short period of time. It has to do with normal, every single day choices and what we're focusing on. doesn't have a thing to do with focusing on a meditation at one point and then everybody leaving and going in their own directions. It has to do with what we are focusing on an everyday, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. The combination of choices between the time that goes on continuously is the direction for which we're heading. So the ETs basically know this. The artificial masters, or whatever you want to call them, they manipulation masters. I've called them before. Manipulation masters. I sort of like that one probably the best. They just do things throughout the whole time to keep people sort of leading in an off tangent, keeping them distracted in a way, because that's all they can do. Is they're distraction masters, because that's all basically they can do to the people, that are in physical, is simply distract us to keep looking over here or looking in that direction, or essentially with timelines moving in a direction for which that would benefit them. So, I know I've thrown a lot of stuff out there. Some of the stuff I'm saying might not make any sense to some of you that are watching this. To some of you, it might make some sense. I'm just putting it out there the best I can in words. But the biggest point is there is an artificial matrix. It's, that's the reason why things have been called the illusion. The illusionary matrix, the illusionary timelines, and so on. In the overall bigger picture of, say, expanded view of things, we're moving in a direction of everything going back to its organic nature. Everything is resetting back into the organic nature. How fast we are able to move into that space and move through into those levels is simply up to what we are focusing on a continual basis. How are you living your life on an everyday basis? Are you living in fear? Are you putting out the vibration of fear? Are you living in fear, worry, jealousy, anger, in that vibrational range? Or are you focusing on abundance? Are you focusing on gratitude? Are you focusing on love without conditions? Are you focusing on taking care of yourself and loving yourself without conditions? Those are a lot of different variables of energetics. The timelines in themselves, you could be viewed as vibrational tunes like guitar strings. Each one makes a different tune or sound, vibrational range. So we simply fall in the range that basically we align with. It's incredibly simple and it's incredibly organic. I'm trying my best to put this into words, but it is incredibly simple. That's the whole. I know it might sound redundant for me to say that over and over again, but it's just I sort of run out of words. It's incredible simple. So the last part about this, there's people that have said something about a lot of times we individually and also collectively may go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We may evolve 2 steps, but then we take a step back. Something, in a lot of different ways, I don't see that there's any way to step back. It's more of sidestepping. And when the sidestep might not, as physical, and being in physical might not be an easy thing. It might be we have some kind of hardship where we get sick, or we might have a major viral pandemic that hits the earth. Sort of everybody sets everybody from what their normal trajectory is, from what they're viewing, might be a step back because it totally shuts down the economy. That's what's going on right now. Some may see that is a step back, but really it is not a step back. It's only a sidestep. We're sidestepped. We're sidestepping, so we are able to change our focus and basically, or give us the option to change our focus to have a new trajectory that is more, say, aligned with the natural order of living. So there's no going back. There is no stepping backwards. We are only our only real choices is how fast we are going to get to, say, evolving into our natural state. So we make it a lot harder than it really is in a lot of different ways. If we drop all the drama, release the fear, open our eyes, connect with your inner knowingness, relax, everything gets a lot simpler and also easier to go through challenging situations. So that's it. I know I've probably stumbled around with a lot of these, what I'm trying to explain, but I did the best I could. I think I've touched on all the topics that I wanted to touch on, and I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or comments regarding anything I've shared here, please post those in the video comment section. I'll try to respond to those the best I can. Like and share the video, or subscribe. That really does help out with how these videos are actually available to other people. That's just the way the system is with YouTube. If you don't have any likes, you don't have any comments, you don't have any subscribers, it's hard for the video to be distributed. So anyway, I think that's it, my friends. Till next time and the next video, I'll see you. Peace out, my friends.